coming to you with our dreams of spring. But it's the brutal, frigid reality of winter. It's the QueerCentric, and queer's Jonny.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the QueerCentric. We have so much fun in here. We released some new videos, so if you didn't see them, go to our socials. We like to pick out fun moments, and so you can see how much fun we have in studio. And it's going to be even more fun today with our amazing guests who are in here. And before I bring you all in, we're going to do some quick announcements. Remember, we are like 3 weeks away. Anytime I say this number, I freak out. I have panic attacks. It's not okay. I wake up at 2:30 in the morning every morning. But the live show, February 25th, right here at the Downtown Library. Doors open at 6:30, shows from 7 to 9. And it's catered, people. There's food. So that's enough. Someone told me you should have led with that. There you go. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be all about entertainment. There's a musical number. I open the night with a surprise. A surprise that's coming for you. We have comedians on board. We have film critics. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Oscars. And so please mark your calendars. It's free to you. We've taken care of everything. You just show up, scream loud, and have an amazing time. So please visit our website. That's thequeercentric.com for more information. But show up on Saturday, February 25th at 6:30, and let's come together as a community. We're working hard for you, and I'm really excited to celebrate that day. Also, remember that the SANS, Spokane AIDS Network, is doing their big Red Ribbon Gala. It's their largest fundraiser of the year is coming, and I am going to host that with the incomparable Nova Kane, and that is going to be on March 12th. That will be at the wonderful new Speakeasy down at the casino, and so it's a great venue. Buy your tickets now. Show up, and Nova and I promise to be extra entertaining. How could we not be? Someone said, with both of your personalities on stage, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be like a supernova. Nova, supernova. See what I did there? You're good. So please come out to that. We also want to, we have a group of comedy writers that we have on the show all the time, part of the show in the background, and we love to support independent artists in this town. So if you want to go support some of the artists you've seen on the show, the Comedy Roast with Added Salt, hosted by James May, is going to be on February 19th at 7:30. And of course, the one and only Anthony Singleton will be there as well. There is a $10 cover at the door, $100 cash prize. It's at Skipper's on Monroe. If you haven't experienced live comedy in a fish restaurant, this is when you can do it. Because been there, it's so much fun. Last but not least, the website got a nice revamping. Thank you, Kurt. And we unveiled it yesterday, I think. Brand new. So go check out thequeercentric.com. There's so many things on there now. So go check out all that we do. Let me tell you, I don't just show up and there's a mic. We're exhausted. So, come on down and support us. But today's going to be a great show. And what we want to start with, my two friends who I've known for a little while, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. You introduce however you want. You can say what you do, or you can just say pronouns, whatever you want to do, however you choose to present yourself. This is your day. This is your moment. So let's start over here, Mikayla.
I'm Mikayla Daniels. I'm a writer and host on Saturday Night Cinema at KSPS. I'm also an arts commissioner for the Airway Heights Arts Commission, and I'm a screenwriter, filmmaker, all the things. And, that's it. I don't know all the things.
You said it right there. Whenever you see independent artists out in the community, just understand it's all the things.
Yeah.
There is a lot under this umbrella. I'm really excited because we haven't been able to have you on a show before, and I've known you since back in the radio days, so I'm excited that you're on the mics with me now. We already had our own show before, and such a great conversation, so we're going to continue that into this hour. But it's important to talk to our independent artists. And speaking of independent artists, sir.
It's a pretty tough act to follow. I mean, I'm just a meager artist. I just paint, that's it.
Remember, demure, as we discovered earlier. Shy and demure.
Love it. But anyways, my name is Matt Schwenk. I'm a local artist. I do mixed media work. And I don't do anything else.
That's enough.
And constantly working on your art.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. I have a big following internationally now, and I work really hard at home and paint and send my work off, and
they're beautiful.
And pray to God they make it to where they're going.
Yeah, right.
Before the show, they got a full rant of me with my current shipping issues.
So we will be sending that to UPS. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, find other carriers, guys.
But we can try sending it to UPS, but it might not get there.
Yeah,
yes, it's mine.
I'm pretty sure most of my clients would prefer a hand delivery, but
I think so. This is funny because I was showing my day job boss your work, and we were in her office, and she was so funny because she's like, that work is beautiful. Where can I see more stuff? And so I send her to your Instagram, and she's like,
oh boy.
Oh, he's a very handsome half-naked man. And then she saw a picture of you and your 3 friends in Iceland, all of you naked.
The snow.
In the
in the Vidi crater, like, holy shit, look at all that snow.
Yeah, and all she could say was, I think I really do need his work. This is the power of media.
You know, the art's what's important, but my clever marketing ruses.
Dude, seriously.
I mean, you got to beat the algorithm now.
Listen.
So unfortunately, if you have your top on, good luck.
I know.
No one's even the people that follow you are never going to see your work
I know.
anymore. It's really sad.
I'm fully clothed and everything, and like my engagement is like nothing.
No,
Well,
right, exactly.
swimsuit season's coming up. Come on.
Do you know what I've decided? I'm going to start showing my feet. I'm just going to do it.
Oh
I'm just
my mom.
honestly-
My birth mom, I said she follows my Instagram as well. And one time there's like a picture of me with my feet out. And she's like, honey, it seems like people really like your feet. I'm like, yeah, Mom, thanks for giving them to me. And she's like, well, honey, let's get you an OnlyFans, pop those kicks off and make you some cash.
Listen,
I've considered it. I'm going to be real about that.
There are some days where I'm like, listen, if I could be a hooker, I'd be a hooker. Yeah. I'm just sex worker. Sorry, let me say. I'll do what I have to.
You just can't let people walk all over you. No pun intended.
Exactly. And it's for real. And then the thing about it is, just so everybody, let's do a little Debbie Downer moment. And then I heard that they have decided that it is going to be a recession this year. I heard all the financial people, and I'm like,
good to know.
Oh my goodness! So I better hurry up and like make sure my feet are pretty, get a pedicure, because
you're gonna have to entry level $8.99 instead of $9.99.
Right? I mean,
you gotta be aggressive with your pricing.
You gotta.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Even in a recession, the weed stores are going to do fine, and any sort of sex work and porn and casinos, they're not affected by recessions at all.
This is what's happening.
Didn't hear any of those listed on your resume a moment ago.
They are not. I know.
Wait, she left that general all the things.
Yeah. There we go.
If I need to add those things
if it's in black and white, it's art. Just black and white cam, it's art.
Exactly. So today's subject, I'm going to just kind of read the sentence that I sent to you two so that we know kind of, because right now with this show in this new 2023 is we go off of an idea instead of going off of news things, right? Even though if we know things happen in the news that relate, of course, we're going to talk about it. But I want to say I sent you guys a sentence that said, we will be talking about the importance of the arts to a society, what happens when we don't value and therefore don't fund the arts, and how celebrating the artist in all of us really helps us as humans. It's this very broad, but what's so funny is to think that we still have to have that conversation because we're still not funding the arts to the amount that we want. Now, thankful that we have something called the National Endowment of the Arts that Congress does every year, and they have tried to increase it every year, and it's still not enough. Yeah. But let me tell you, if you add all of the salaries of professional sports, don't worry, the money is there. It's just not for the arts. So as we start this conversation, this broad conversation, obviously you're welcome to put your thoughts down below. We want to hear what you think. But I want to start with a very personal thing. We are all artists in this room of some realm or another,
Absolutely.
Right? How did the arts find us and begin to shape us? I want to start there.
Oh, man. I got to say, it's one of those things that, like, when we're kids, we love the arts, right? We love writing, art, whatever it is. There's magic
the
in it.
handprint turkeys.
Yeah, but there's something that happens to us that I don't know if it's because we're not told that a career in the arts is a thing or whatever it is, where we, at least for me, I lost it, and probably somewhere around high school, and it was more concerned about like what's a good career, right?
Yeah.
Like we need money, you know, all this other thing. But I was miserable until I started going like, what actually makes me happy? And it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's film. So here's the funny thing. This is how I got into it, into film, and it's so weird. So I had gone back to college. I'm in my 30s. I'm divorced with 4 kids, and I was working on medical assisting because I already had a medical background and everything. And so I went through the program, and I'm on my externship, and there's this guy, and he's laying there because we're going to have to do like an EKG on him, but he needs to have his blood drawn first. Now, this dude had both his nipples pierced, and he had tons of tattoos, right?
My kind of guy.
So it wasn't me.
It's not just you, but it wasn't you. So this guy, and he's laying there, and I draw his blood. I got the vein on the first time. Like, you know, it was a perfect blood draw, and he starts complaining. And he's like, ouch, it hurts. And I looked at him, and I wanted to say, dude, this needle is smaller than the one they shoved through your nipples.
Yes.
But you can't say that to patients. But for me, that was my light bulb moment of like, oh, I can technically do the job.
Yeah.
But I don't like patients. And so
Yep.
if I don't like patients, I probably shouldn't be doing this. So I was like, okay, I'll just continue on. I was at SEC at the time. I was like, I'll just go for the AA transfer, see what happens. Right. And I took an intro to film course. And my instructor, he's like, you know, you could actually do this as a job. And I was like, no, that's ridiculous. He's like, no, you can actually do this as a job. And then I started doing independent studies. And so here I was, a 30-something divorced mom with 4 young kids who's like, oh, I'm going to switch from medical to film.
Yeah.
Which is like actually impossible to try to get into. But I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And then, you know, I transferred to Eastern. And that was really, really hard being a student in the film program over there. But then I had a really good grad program that I went off to down in Los Angeles for screenwriting, and that program was super supportive, and they're very supportive. It's Stevens College MFA in TV and screenwriting, and they're super supportive of underserved voices. And so that was the moment where I was like, oh, I am a good writer. I can actually do these film things.
Right.
But it kind of takes somebody believing in you for you to believe that you can be an artist.
100%.
Yeah.
We're just told all the time that it's not a real job. But guess what? During the pandemic, what was the first thing everybody turned to?
Exactly.
It was music. It was art. It was TV. Guess what? Those are created by artists.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to be. And we're taught what pragmatic ideals are. Pragmatic is you're a starving artist. That's how you're labeled over here. I remember when I went, I felt guilty coming home.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, coming home from LA and feeling like, is coming home a failure? And I told myself, well, you're going to get a new job, and you're going to learn to be an adult at 45 years old, and you're going to go to it. And my niece came to me, and she said, Uncle Jonathan, I need you to know that seeing that you are still not afraid to go after your dreams gives me the hope to still do that. And and you
there's
sit
no
there
time
going,
limit on these things either.
No,
There's no set course.
And I thought, you know what? If it taught my niece that, then I can't be completely a failure, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
now it's that grapple of how do we balance society's views on artists and start to accept that it's okay to want these things. Because I feel like when you were doing the medical, what you did was identify that something is not setting, it's not filling the whole soul.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was that moment of, listen, people, we live one time.
Yep.
So to live it miserably isn't worth it. And it's terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, to do the art that you love is absolutely terrifying.
yeah.
And I do want to say there was a research from the University of Western Australia that says exposure to the arts for just 2 hours every week improves mental health and overall well-being.
sure.
Studies are
that.
showing that. And look, we learned it in pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, it showed that
Absolutely.
we got through saner than could have happened, right? I mean, so tell me when that moment was for you, sir.
Oh gosh, so
when you found
So, you know, I grew up pretty lucky. So my mom was a school teacher. And so when you have a school teacher mom, she was a kindergarten teacher. So, I mean, so much of the curriculum is like, really?
Yeah.
Because your story is so similar to mine as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. My mom was a teacher.
Love it.
She was mostly 3rd and 4th grade. But
Okay. So my mom moved up to there eventually. But anyway, so she was a school teacher. And so it was always doing little projects when I was growing up. It was always painting. It was always different creative things, building things. And so it kind of fostered in me from a very young age, oh, I like the arts. And I was really good at it. And so every little school project was like, you have to do a book report. Well, I spent like 2 days making the cover for the book report, more so than I care about writing it, because I want it to look pretty. So my mom always encouraged that, though. And it was nice, too. She never told me, this is stupid. So it was always just what made me feel okay. And so then when I went through high school, then life gets hard in high school. So you kind of lose your ability.
The hormones and everything.
Yeah, you just kind of lose your ability to be that young kid who loved doing something. And so, my focus turned into studies on things that I had no interest in because I had to for the curriculum. Then I had some sad stuff happen at home, family. And so I got completely derailed from the arts. And then I actually dropped out of high school senior year. Just teachers started bullying. It was horrible. And I lost that artistic, happy boy that liked to paint and liked to create things for many, many, many years. And so then I lived in Seattle. I worked at a car lot. I worked odd jobs. I did a little modeling 40 pounds ago.
Of course you did.
I throw that in there. But anyway, so then I was doing these things that didn't make me happy, and I was just trying to survive because I didn't know what to do. I had no college education. There was nothing I could do. And then one of my friends showed me a painting he liked. I'm like, I bet I could do that. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, I can tell what materials to use. I can do this. I'm going to go buy a couple art materials. So I kind of knocked off this painting that this guy did. And they gave it to my friend for his birthday. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me, Matt? You made this? I'm like, yeah. It's like, no, you didn't, you flighty idiot. There's no way this came from you. And so it was my first opportunity to show something deeper inside of me. And then a few other people were like, hey, Matt, can I get a painting? Would you want to represent us for this charity auction thing we're doing? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I ended up doing a piece for this auction to represent Tiffany & Co. of all people.
Right.
Wow.
But just a really crazy random opportunity because one of the guys at the party was an attorney for them and said, will you represent them? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I submitted you and they chose you. So then I met this gallery owner and it's kind of the same thing. I couldn't have done my career if I didn't meet this guy. And his name is Tom Hunter. He owns a store called Trammell Gagne in Seattle. And he said, wow, I love this. Have you ever done a show? I'm like, no, I couldn't even wrap my head around the concept of me doing a show.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to give you your first art show. Wow. So then I went into Trammell Gagne. It's like $60,000 coffee tables, like $100,000 light fixtures.
That makes me panic.
I know.
So there's a lot of pressure. So I'm like, how the hell am I going to do this?
Right.
So I decided to move back to Spokane, where I had lots of space to work in the old home I grew up in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my mom wasn't there. It was just my brother living there. And then I did my art show, and it sold. And I was like, why did you do this for me, Tom? And he said, back in my day, there was one person that out of nowhere believed in me and gave me an opportunity. So he gave me that opportunity. I started getting published in magazines. I started doing great. And then I completely failed, but then I came back online.
But don't you think you have to? Yeah. First of all, no one told us how to be artists.
No,
right?
There's no book.
It's great that your mom never told you it was stupid, so you at least had the support, but at the end, it's still.
No, but when you lose it, though, like you said, it's like one person can give you that opportunity and believe in you, and it can change your whole trajectory of your whole entire life. And so if I didn't have that one person believing in me at that moment, I would have never thought this could be a career option for me.
Right.
And then when I failed and I came back, I think I truly became a successful artist at about 29 or 30.
Yeah.
So it was 30 years until that point.
I was like, I'm still waiting for my success. I'm almost 44,
I'm like, where do I rewind?
I didn't say it lasted. I'm on the streets knowing
No, but you are a working artist, so you're. But there's the thing.
But it
so
took till 30 to become a consistently working
Right.
artist. And so it's like, my God, how many people have 30 years of their life to wait for the dream to happen?
Well, and I think
but
the
it could
same
have happened so much sooner had someone believed in me earlier that had that opportunity.
I think what's fascinating is, the medium that you and I enjoy a lot is film, is that the very thing we love, it teaches us that we are an extremist society. You go from... like we don't understand the working artist part. We're like, wait, when's the stardom part where I never have to worry about, because the movies and the magic, that's what it's taught us. Yeah. And that's not, and I still want to be part of that magic. So growing up, I've done everything, and I've sang in front of 13,000 people, and I've did an album, I did all these things. And someone once told me, they came to me and said, why what makes you think you can do all of these things? I do a show. No one gave me permission for that. I'm doing the live show.
Because I can.
And I said, because I didn't know that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No one. So I'm not going to accept the limit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let someone limit me. The only person who can limit us is us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose never to understand what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Is it terrifying? I think doing our art is terrifying, correct?
Yeah, because you have to be vulnerable to be, no matter what your art is. Like when I'm writing, it's coming from a place of vulnerability
Right.
because there's stories that I've lived through or, that I've seen. And it is so scary, every time I send a script out for somebody, just a friend even
Yes.
to read.
And if you hear one person doesn't like it, you're like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm
That's-
horrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Ah.
it's definitely like,
Same with painting. Same thing. Yeah.
Because we take pieces of ourselves and we
Yeah.
put it out there, which is why. So a friend also, Mama Ocean, if you're listening, I love you
I
so
love
much.
Mama
I
Ocean.
know.
I'll see
And
her this week or next week.
Please
Yeah.
tell her hello. I
will.
went to coffee with her last week, and I wrote her a note afterwards and let her know you are the only person probably who can say what you said. And she said, Jonathan, you are so raw and so vulnerable that I think maybe sometimes you take people to, like, you let them hurt your feelings when they didn't, that's not what their intention was. You're assuming that they don't care
Right.
about you, and I'm like, actually, that was the greatest thing for me to hear. I
Yeah.
take things very personally, but as artists, because we're so vulnerable and so open, we're like, well, why wouldn't you do what I asked that I needed you to do? Well, that's because people have a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
And so, but I love that about her. And I said, what's odd is you hope to be that balance at all times. I hope I'm always really vulnerable and raw, but also not like having panic attacks at 2:30 in the morning. You have to find.
Well, you shouldn't be an artist, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I know.
sorry.
Trust
Wrong
me.
career, babe.
Yeah, exactly.
We all
and
get
I've been
the
doing
panic
it for
attacks.
it's been 20 years, and this is what you do.
Yeah.
I think the reason why she gives such great advice on that
love that.
specific, like I met her on a film set years and years and years ago that we were acting in, and so it's she knows where that sort of fear and that vulnerability comes
Yes.
from, and she is in tune to. She's done a lot of work, a lot of self work, and
Yes.
that she can
And it
help
hasn't
bring
been
that.
easy.
No, it has not been easy, and it's never easy when
No.
you're doing good work. But I go to she's the light worker that I go
Yes.
to at Luminosity, and
Mm-hmm.
she just has this great level of empathy and knowledge for artists because I think she's been there and she understands. But we need sometimes that outside person, right? Because it doesn't matter how much I tell myself those things. I need somebody else to tell me those things.
Oh, yeah.
To make it real,
Yeah.
right?
Listen, now everybody look at me and tell me if my hair looks good.
Look, man,
But dude.
I didn't
Kidding,
even,
I'm kidding. No,
I
it's
didn't
great.
even brush my hair today, so just calm down.
Do you want me to take my hat off? And you compare?
No, I love it. I love it. People like that. And when I met her, she was doing PR for a magazine. They were doing a spread on me and my co-host at that time. And what I find fascinating is she is PR is a very supportive role. I mean, so I think that she doesn't always think of herself as an artist, but just
She
because
is.
you're exactly.
She absolutely.
And we need those people to say, because no matter how old we get,
Yep.
you need a person in your life that continues to tell you that it's okay and
of
gives
course.
us that path like your mom did when you were younger.
And, and also, like, I've been lucky. The longer you do something, I've been lucky to get to work professionally as an artist for a while, right? And so there are certain clients that just make me the epiphany of everything I'm doing. And like you said, just to have a few people tell me, oh my God, you have no idea how much this piece means to me. Yeah. And then like maybe a few years later, like, oh, the light hit it today and I just wanted to tell you again, thank you for doing this for me. And that's not going to be every client. Like when we work and we put art into the world, there are some that are going to appreciate it and some that maybe just like having it. So there's stuff on people's walls that I never hear from ever again.
Right.
And then there's clients that I hear from that tell me how much it matters.
Yeah.
And as an artist, so we have to, I guess you have to have some humble pie and realize what you're putting into the world is going to matter, but you're maybe not always going to know that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or get to hear that feedback
And-
back.
and
Which is
you
why it's so important to have that.
Oh, for sure.
once in a while.
And that you will never, I think the hardest lesson I learned through the years was no matter how hard you work and how much heart you put into it, you cannot please everyone.
No, of course
Not everyone is going to love you. Do I want like every person who I ever meet to think, no, people have that's how it works. People have opinions and you have to but artists are important. They're important in this world. I do want to ask an interesting question, which is, do you think that we're taught, we call it commercialization of art. So let's say you do a movie and all of a sudden somebody picks it up and you get nominated for awards. We're taught at some level that you've sold your art out. When you are doing successful and you're able to make money and do art, isn't there this layer in there that's like, listen, that's great, but once you're commercial, you should be a little sad.
There's this great guy. His name is Richie Culver, and so he does. He just like spray paints the most brilliant words onto canvas that are so insightful. And one of his that he did, it's just spray paint. It says, "Commercial artist drives by conceptual artist in a Lamborghini."
That is the exact.
How
yeah.
funny, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like. There you go. And to be honest, I hate when people say that someone is selling out. What is selling out? Getting a bigger audience to see your work?
It's
a larger audience?
I think a little bit. It's I'm jealous of you.
It's absolutely jealous.
Yeah. So I'm going to call you a sellout because I'm still trying.
Right.
When maybe if we supported each other as artists, as queer people, as a community overall, I think that's why I get accused of being a cheerleader. And I'm like, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I want to be a cheerleader.
Is that supposed to be an insult?
Exactly.
Sorry.
I want to lift you up.
Right.
I want to make you, and then hopefully, it's the circular thing where we help each other, but we are taught to take each other down.
Yeah. It's, and especially here in Spokane, honestly, there is in some circles, or at least I know within the sort of film circles, I don't know how the artist circles are, but
Yeah, exactly the same.
There is this very big sense of exclusivity. I'm a writer and an on-camera host, and some words just. But there's this idea of like everything is very, very closed, and it's hard for new people to get in, and like they think you're competition, and I'm like, I don't know why anybody would think that I'm their competition, because what I'm doing is not what anybody else is doing.
Right.
My voice is totally different from what everybody else in Spokane is doing in film. So why are you shutting me out? I am not your competition.
It's a jealousy thing again. You've made it somewhere further than some of the other people that you know in your field want to.
Yeah.
And then they project it on you. It happens all the time as an artist. All the time I get to hear it.
And I think we're taught that from a very young age and it keeps us in line. Yeah. Keeps us in check.
But to be honest,
and it doesn't help.
It's also what drives me. I know that, like we talked about a moment ago, like having that one person that believed in me, I have so many people now that hit me up online that want me to look at their work. First thing I do is I follow them. Second thing I do is I tell them what I think about their work. And it's never negative. Even if it's constructive, I'll tell them what I love.
Constructive is where it's at.
I tell them what I love about what I'm seeing. I never tell them what I don't like. I want to support them. And to be honest, most of the people that send me work, they're brilliant. And they just have no idea how brilliant they are. And so being someone they look up to, I love
our homework. Let's send them some of our work because it will not be brilliant when I send it.
But then I'll tell you, but this part actually is brilliant, you idiot. So how dare you doubt yourself?
What a beautiful
and I'll
way.
Be right.
Yeah, what a beautiful way to do it, to lift up the pieces, lift up the parts that are, because we spend a whole lot of time in our lives looking at the negative and forgetting that, oh, wait, that actually went pretty good.
I will never be part of someone else's failure. But if I can be a catalyst to help them succeed, then I'm going to be that. And so there's some local artists that have hit me up, and Dylan Lipsker is an artist in Spokane. I remember when he first started his career, we would talk and I gave him a little advice, and he's thriving now. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm so happy for him. And he always tells me that it meant so much to him that I would take the time to come over and see his studio and look at his work. But that's like, if I had that in my life when I was beginning, maybe I could have gotten started in my art career a lot later. Or a lot earlier.
A lot sooner,
a lot earlier than I did. Because like we said, it's just that one person. So if someone's going to look up to me in my work, I'm so excited to lift them up as well.
Yeah, and I think it's, we talk about the support, which is so important. And you had this came to me when you were speaking earlier. And it's the quote, if your voice held no power, they wouldn't try to silence you. Indeed, the most powerful weapons any of us have are the breath in our lungs and the stories we possess. So tell your story. It's this understanding that it doesn't matter if two people are doing the same kind of artwork. the fact that no one's voice is the same. You are the only person who
I've been
has
told
your
I get a little
voice.
chatty sometimes.
You do? Listen, I have a talk show. I know how that goes. But the point is that we are more powerful than we understand, that everybody's story has power to it, and it's never going to be the same as someone else.
No.
So everybody has validity, and we just have to learn that it's okay for you to be doing the same thing. I had this horribly embarrassing situation where I talked to Ryan Tucker, who hosts Lilac City Live, and I talked to him a lot because I'm here and he works here, and I never put two and two together. I would talk to him all the time, and so he's always been so kind to me
he's
and
great.
very like excited for what I'm doing. And I realized when I finally realized, we both host things, we do live things,
he's
and I
on
was
Saturday
like,
Night Cinema with me as well.
Yeah.
He's one of the other hosts.
I love him, and I
I
told
want to meet
him,
this guy.
oh, he's great.
He's great. He's super supportive. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, well, and I told him, I said, I never want. So this whole time you've been telling me how great I am, and I'm the
And
jerk
you're
who is.
great. You're great.
And then I'm thinking, I never once looked at you and said, I really appreciate your work. So I look like the jackass. I'm like, well, thank you. Yes, I am.
If you want some
But he's-
tips, I'd be happy to give you some.
He's brilliant. And it's those things, but I will always support another artist.
Oh, yeah.
I will always, because if we lead from insecurity, that's when the world falls apart. We can't afford to do that because all we're doing is
Yeah,
helping
and
each other.
especially emerging artists are in a fragile state. And so if they don't get the ability to go on some trajectory path and at least start doing it, who knows what they might never get to contribute to the world.
Right.
You know, like no one starts out in the Guggenheim.
Right.
Right.
But some of us will end up there.
I mean, you
know?
could be like a
And so
docent.
who knows?
Or, give tours. That's
Wasn't Ross a docent in
I
France?
think so,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Which that show has not aged very well at all.
Oh no.
it makes me sad now when I watch it.
Dude,
I'm like,
I cannot
oh,
watch it now.
it's so painful.
I'm like,
I've got my own friends now. I don't need them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't
Well,
need those
you know,
fake friends.
I
you
got my own
mentioned,
couch and a fountain.
you mentioned society. Arts and music education programs are mandatory in countries that rank consistently among the highest for even practical things like math and science. Of
course.
And these are countries like Japan. These are countries like Hungary. These are countries like Netherlands. They put such an importance on the arts. When all we're trained to think Japan is just a bunch of nerdy people who all they do is work hard and work on computers. No, the fact is they're good
Have you
at what
seen
they
their art?
do.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're that good because Japan is saying, we need you to focus on art because it helps your mind.
And the art, when I go to Art Basel in Miami, you get to see a lot of the Asian art. And my God, it is profound how technical some of these things are. They do
Yeah.
some of these things. Like one guy, he folds up rice paper into geometric shapes and puts hundreds and thousands of them together to create these three-dimensional
amazing.
things. And so the fact that art is even more fostered by learning mathematics and learning other
Right.
skills.
Yeah.
It all is interwoven. And so that's why you see such incredible, technical, beautiful, precise art.
Exactly.
Because they're combining some of those different things they're taught in
these-
school aside from just creative things.
Some of the things you look at, like in the Netherlands, some of the things that you will see that come out of that.
Our
I
gorgeous
love that
blondes.
it's because, it's because I love that they are they're from countries that know the
importance,
value.
yeah.
Because you know that there's not one state in the U.S. that feels like they all feel they're underfunded for the arts in their
yeah,
schools.
and they are.
They are,
And exactly.
desperately.
So why do you think that we are taught to, mentioned it a little bit earlier, we are taught to have a rivalry between the jocks and the artistic people, when don't you think almost like we're placed purposefully in
Can't
those?
you be both?
Right.
Exactly.
I play football and I paint.
I think it's part of that capitalist mindset that we have here is that somehow our worth as humans is dependent on, how much money we make at a job. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
and for artists, that's not the goal. I mean, I would love to have money.
Right.
I'm telling you, I got 4 kids. They're like all adults now. Like I would
Right.
love money, but that's
Right.
not why I do what I do. I do it because
Exactly.
I have to, because
Yeah.
all these stories are inside of me. And if I don't get them out, I will go crazy.
Yes.
But that's very counterintuitive to the capitalist system.
And that's I mean, you nailed it right there. Now, I know a lot of people already are now calling me a socialist
pointing
and a
at?
communist, right? Well, the camera. I know.
The
And I
people
love
who will
all
be
the
watching
fans.
this.
Yeah. But because I get called this outside of this show, communist and socialist, and I think it's in the labels that we get lost.
Yeah.
Like what we're saying is we have to decide what our value is, and it doesn't. Those values don't have a label on them. Yeah. Those values is we need to be better. And I mean, doing research for the show, just seeing the amount of studies that were done on the importance of having art in your life, even like I said earlier, 2 days a week, and how it can change your whole world. And look at Greece and look at Rome. I mean, let's go ancient. Look at the Aztecs. Look at the things that survive the most and touch people the most and draw them into wanting to know more about those cultures is the art that they left behind. Yeah. Because that's how you can tell the heart of the people that were back there. And that's what we relate to.
It's funny to me that people are so on your side, like especially the powers that be that deny funding for these different arts programs.
Right.
Do they not listen to music?
Right.
Yeah.
Do they not go to their favorite restaurant and have the meal of their life in the most beautiful atmosphere on this incredibly designed chair in their beautiful clothes they just got at Neiman Marcus? Like, do they not understand you like this stuff? This is what makes the world beautiful and worth living and fun. Yeah. How you don't want it to exist for the next generation?
I feel like there's a control aspect. Don't you feel like? I feel like I don't want to
keep your laws off of my art career.
Yeah, but I do feel like there's a control thing. How do I control? Because what's the thing about art? We tend to be out of control, quote unquote, because we're following the muse, we're following the heart.
The muses have taken,
and it's hard. What do you think scares the powers that be? Is I need to control that, and so that's why we'll have fights about the freedom of speech in art. We'll have fights about where funding goes, because if you look at places like Rome, who it was about the gladiator, they wanted it more about that than the art. It's the same thing right now. Let's make it, I can control a gladiator much easier than I can control a Michelangelo.
Well, if you have brought up with emotions, you're going to be harder to control. Yeah. So what brings emotions to people? Art. Every single form of design.
That's true.
I mean, even mathematics is an art form. Like, these people...
It is.
Like,
have you seen A Beautiful Mind? I could never do that, and yet it's wow.
It is beautiful.
I have friends that are fighters. It's an art form. They have to literally learn to study and figure out their opponents. I mean, there's so many things that people don't tie to art, but without it,
you wouldn't have pretty much anything.
You wouldn't have anything. Anything.
And
this ugly table I'm sitting at wouldn't even be here.
Exactly. And this availability of enjoying the world around us. If art wasn't accessible in a culture, that culture would die. Yeah. We have seen that time and time again. And every culture, no matter even how structured it is, they survive if there is an art, because art is going to find a way. It's like the flower in the cement sidewalk. It's going to find a way because we have to find that.
Well, even utilitarian purposes, like, okay, so I have to make sure that I can craft this bowl because I need it to carry water from the stream. Right. So someone has to do that, right? Even if they're not thinking of it as art. Yeah. But then someone's going to go, okay, why not make it, I don't know, this looks kind of pretty, so I can do the same function. It looks a little better.
Right.
And even things like that evolve. And so everything is art. So support it.
I mean, and that's the truth. I follow a guy on Instagram who basically all I do is watch him create things out of clay, and I don't know why I'm so fascinated. Yeah. I just am like, that's because I know I can't take this lump and make it look like anything, but I appreciate.
I watch the beauty influencers and like on YouTube painting, like I've never done drag. I've never worn makeup. Well, no, that's a lie. I've worn a lot of makeup before, but maybe not in a drag way. Like right now, I look amazing. Right? No, but I'm fascinated by other art forms I get to watch.
Well, when I'll talk to my brother is super straight, but he's so supportive of me, and we will have the discussion about like RuPaul's Drag Race or something. And I said, when I look at a queen, when I look at a queen, I see someone who's doing an art form.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And you'll
have all brave art form
and
too.
You'll see all these people trying to tear it down or say ugly things, but I'm like,
they don't matter.
No, how could you not? And here's the other. I once wanted to do a photograph where it was a beautiful drag queen against the gray. A building being torn down. So you have the wrecking ball because art is, a lot of these queens have been through a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And they chose, especially back in the day, like the 60s and the 70s, they have chosen to create something beautiful out of pain. Yeah. They've chosen to create something that makes them feel alive out of a world that tells them they should be dead. Yep. That's what art is. I want to support that. Plus, my favorite thing about art, which is why I have a talk show, is I want us to talk. I want ideas to sprout out, and I want us to have that discourse because we don't have it anymore. We don't. And that's where society begins to live and to change.
Yeah. It's even in my own career, I found, over the years, my mental health has probably taken a real nosedive because it becomes so isolating.
Yeah.
I think any artist would understand that part, but
Right.
now it's kind of just accepted to be isolated and no longer go to a restaurant. Well, DoorDash come, and I'll order everything online, and so you kind of combine that with art, and really becomes kind of lonely. And so
2020
it's
taught
needed,
us to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, and it's needed to be able to have these conversations for artists, for people that are curious about art, for those that don't like art. Just to be able to speak about it's wonderful.
And I think those people don't understand what art they like. They think these are the only art forms I'm allowed to like.
Right.
Because I don't think there's a person on earth
like their
who doesn't like something.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just don't understand where that art is. I was on a podcast once years and years ago, and it was, I forget what it's called, but it was basically about, it was for artists, and it was about, when do you know you have to go back to the well? And I knew, as a writer and as a singer and as wanting to film things, you have to have things that inspire you.
I am always thirsty, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I will tell you.
Thank you, right? On so many levels. But it's true. And you have to know where your well is, and you have to be able to understand, because listen, it's changed through the years, but I really like being home and not being out. But I also know if I don't make time to connect with people, I would be dead inside. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to grow and then be like, oh, that's a great story. I want to tell that story. Totally. Or, you know what I mean? We need those. And as a writer over here, this is your dream and your love and what is that for you?
Spite. Yeah. So basically every time somebody tells me that I'm not good enough or I can't do something, which happens a lot here, specifically, it encourages me. So I know I talked to Jonathan about a music video that I had show 2021. It was part of a competition, and one of the judges refused to acknowledge the queerness of it, which shocked me because I was like, it's 2021 and like queer erasers like hopping right to me in my face, and like nobody said anything. Yeah. And it was a room full of like arts leaders in Spokane, and nobody said anything, and everyone was in that room, and I left because I was rightly pissed off about it, but nobody ever said anything to me afterwards. Nobody apologized to me despite all these leaders being in that room. And I'm like, either you are all so blind that you didn't understand what happened there, which I doubt, or you just don't understand what that means. And one of my straight friends was like, oh, well, you should write the people who didn't say anything. You should write them and tell them. And I said, why? Why is that on me? Yeah. They were in the room. They saw it happen. They chose not to say anything. And it was, a queer-based project. And because of that, I was like, well, guess what? The next project is going to be even gayer. Yeah. And it is going to be so flaming gay that it's going to irritate those people. So I really do run off of spite, because it's like, oh, you think I can't do this, or you don't like it when I do this? Yeah. Fine. I'm going to do it bigger and better.
That moment where, and I have this moment way too often, where I want to be like, tell me that I can't. Right. Tell me to my face that I can't.
It's a really good motivator for me.
Watch me.
It sucks though when it comes from a place like you probably feel this is a safe space for creativity and for my art, and so it's the last place you would ever expect to have that happen. And that really hurts.
That was the thing, is that, to be fair, I hadn't directed anything in Spokane for years because I'd really been working on my screenwriting career, and I've been writing and being published in things. And so I thought, oh, okay, I haven't done anything for a while, but this will be fun. And it was fun creating the project, and everybody I worked with was amazing. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. This is an art space, right? And then it wasn't fine. And I was like, wow, here in, and again, this was 2021, like here in 2021, I can go into an art space in Spokane and not only not be supported, but like literally have my queerness and the queerness of my art be erased right in front of my face. And like it just, it just like it made me mad for a little bit, but then it inspired other things, and it inspired a script, which we were talking about earlier. It inspired another music video project, which I'm working on with a queer femme artist, which will actually, I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's amazing.
But it's very exciting.
It's a very amazing
Very
song.
excited.
We are going to be premiering it during the month of Pride, and we're going to be showing the music video and having a panelist of queer individuals
And I'm
in
coming.
film and music.
Right.
So you
Worth
know
it, too.
that, and that's what I do. Is like, oh, okay, so you don't want me to create queer art here. Well, guess what? I'm going to make it bigger, better, and then
Exactly.
I'm going to, we're going to, collaborate. And that's the thing too, is that I love collaborating with other artists.
Yep.
I think I get much better work when I'm collaborating with other people. And so with this particular project, I was able to, the musical artist had approached me about doing a project, and I was like, oh, but I have an idea. Let's do this thing. And she's been amazing. And like, we have all these queer individuals who are going to be a part of this music video project. And I'm excited for it. But so, like, if anybody doesn't like that, I guess we're going to go even gayer the next time.
Thank you.
So I'm
Thank
almost
you.
kind of wanting, like, somebody to like, give me some pushback on that when we do premiere it, because, like, then I'll, like, go full Little Nas X, all right? Like,
Oh, yes, please.
like,
Yeah.
I'm really close.
Is he not so amazing for going Lil Nas X and going, oh, you're offended by this? Well, how about this? And then, but now the whole world's like, okay, rooting him on, like, go Lil Nas X.
Yes.
Right,
So
exactly.
He totally inspires me. I mean, here's
Yeah,
this
he's amazing.
young black man
Yeah.
who is embracing everything that who he is, and I look up to him as an artist.
Unapologetically.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And he does that. Like, every time, somebody puts him down, he makes it gayer.
Yes.
He makes it
Yeah.
more fabulous and more
then-
uncomfortable for those people.
But then
and
he does.
I love that.
Then he carries it with kindness too.
Yeah.
And
He's
support. Yeah,
so
it's
beautiful.
It's such it's a beautiful thing to see someone that gets to use their voice, but then also shows them, look, I'm also a very kind person.
And-
Because then you really want to root for it.
And
I-
owns themselves.
I
Doesn't
love
let
Lil Nas X.
someone like edit them.
I date him.
Someone came to me. Oh, I do a few things.
Handsome
few
boy.
things. Someone came to me, and they're an artist, and I love their art form, and they're so good. And I was shocked because it's like they didn't realize they had permission to be okay knowing they're amazing, right? And they said they didn't feel like they had the right. I had this person write something for us, and he didn't feel he had a right to call himself a writer. And I said, let me tell you something I learned a long time ago. Don't wait for someone else to name you.
Yeah.
Name yourself. Name yourself. Say it out loud. Say that you're a writer. Step into that room like you already own it. Because you're the only one that matters if you accept yourself. And we need to learn, especially as queer artists, to be able to stand up, because you know what? Society's not going to tell us it's okay. And you have to stand up and say, you know what? I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer. I'm a singer. I'm a performer. Because that is because we know who we are. So I'm going to name myself before you ever say anything to me, because the room, I always tell my friends, straighten your crown. Straighten your crown and walk into that room, because that's your kingdom and it awaits. Don't let yourself be taken down. We all must, and is it terrifying? We all know as artists, absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely. I'm terrified every day.
Right? I tell Kurt every day, what if we show up on the 25th and it's me and 5 people? Well, listen, I've been at this game a long time. You do the same show.
Yeah.
But I'm still really hoping, please don't let it just be 5 people. But you do it and you name yourself and you just show up as you are. And artists, I think that is our job in society, is to teach the society around us that we have a right to show up as we are.
So as queer artists, we do have responsibilities. The thing is, this has been like the biggest surprise of my whole year, is that, so I'm unapologetically gay on my, if you follow my Instagram, I'm having fun. I have nothing to be ashamed of. But my art has transcended that. And so this was my year of the female. I sold maybe 90% of my work went to women, and not just queer women. It went to like conservative grandmas and like these Christian women in Ohio, and they all started following me and loved my spirit. And I guarantee, and then have supported my artwork. And it's been amazing to reach a demographic that I least expected, to allow me to be completely queer and open about it, and then also find beauty in my art. And it helps them find beauty in my soul. And helps them find beauty in queerness. And then I hope that they're spreading that to the other queer influences and stuff they have in their life.
Before
and I think they
any
are.
preconceived notions of what they were supposed to like or not like because it's from a queer artist, they connected to the art. And then it was too late.
Yeah.
That's the joy
But
of
it's funny
art.
though, I get so much hate from the gay community. Oh, you just, you have to take your shirt off, and only men buy paints, and
I
they
think
want to
that's
fuck
funny
you.
that
And
the
I'm
gay
like,
community
maybe
is-
some of them do, but this is my year of the straight female and queer female, and I don't think they want to fuck me.
Well, yeah, I have said a million times that we were very shocked about.
Sorry, fudge me. I should have radio
There
appropriate
is
voice.
no-
I was gonna say they can bleep it if they need to.
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, fuck!
There's no FCC in this room.
There's a F-U-C-K though.
Yeah. And one of the things that was fascinating to me when we did the holiday card photo shoot, and I've said it on the show before, is we didn't understand. We were having a good time. We knew, but people told us what it was. And straight, middle-aged white ladies started sending me emails. They found a permission in our body positivity of John, who is this Adonis, and Jonathan, who is this bear. They found a permission in it and a comfortableness that they would write me and say, can I share this with people?
How wonderful
Yeah.
to reach someone
Beautiful.
so unexpected, right?
So unexpected, and what
And it
it did
plants a
for
seed.
us
It
is
does.
we realize, well, and I always say a project tells you what it is. You can do it and present it, but in the end, it's not yours. Art, we give art away. And then the people who are viewing it and taking it in and tell us what it is to them.
Yeah.
That was what the most shocking yet most beautiful thing is to have people react in surprising, unexpected
An audience
ways.
you didn't even think you would be able to reach.
And
yeah.
it was helping people do what we all are trying to do, which is just love ourselves a little
Right.
better. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we were talking earlier about, especially in Hollywood with film and television, even when we do show queer characters and stuff, they're often very traditionally attractive, very traditionally thin. And then, is it Sam Smith?
Yeah.
The musician?
Oh.
So they just released this
Yes.
amazing music video, and they are not a small person, right?
No, nope.
And they are sexy and dressed sultry, and it's an amazing music video.
It's
but
called Gloria, so everybody look it up.
and so people were obviously dogging on Sam, like, oh, you shouldn't be like this, and it's like, oh, because a queer fat person offends you. So
Exactly.
because Sam decides to be unapologetically queer, unapologetically bigger, and enjoying that sexuality, that really offended a lot
I
of
saw
people.
someone come out and say, we love these two big artists. Actor, singer, Harry Styles.
Yes.
We show Harry is doing the same things, but we
Yes.
accept Harry because he is culturally beautiful.
Yes.
We want him to continue to do
Thin
this,
and
but then you
beautiful.
have the hate that I saw Sam Smith get
Okay.
over what he did, and yet if it had been the other way. And so what it is how do we not take away from Harry? And yet how do we support Sam? Like, both these men should be able to do what they're doing, but how dare people try? And they came hardcore hate for Sam Smith. Just the grossest thing you've ever seen.
Another recent queer thing. Do you guys watch The Last of Us?
Oh,
I haven't yet. I want to.
Oh, so I have issues.
Oh, with the episode 3?
Yeah, not because there's a
Yeah.
queer storyline. It's very
Yeah.
beautiful, but my question is are queer actors playing those roles?
One is, and one isn't.
and
This
one
is a-
isn't, right? And so, and HBO, this show has a very big platform. And
Yeah.
so I understand the argument, well, acting's acting and you should be able to act, but
Right.
you know what? As good as the role is,
but with Nick Offerman's defense, so he never identified as queer, I think, until
Right.
that moment happened. And so I read an in-depth thing about it, and he said the acting felt so real because I was literally going on this journey with this man for my first time, because I've
This
never
is-
kissed another man, I've never done that, and so
Right.
it kind of made it feel so real. But he was so open.
This
and
is what is
accepting to taking on
fascinating
the
and I
role.
love him too. Like,
Yeah.
This
as an actor.
conversation is a constant.
Yeah.
On this
But that
show
writing-
alone,
that writing-
representation is
It
talked
forced
about.
a lot of
We talked
conversations
last
out,
week.
so-
We talked the week before, and that is a valid that's why we need to keep talking, because
Well,
that
that's
is
why I
a
want to see
valid
more
statement.
queer writers get the platform.
But see,
that's what we need, though.
they're not giving. I mean,
They're not giving it,
They're
I
not
know.
giving the platform. And like I recently saw.
But look
him,
how
like,
powerful it was when finally we got a big main show. And so
But here's the other thing too: is often when we do see queer representation, it's generally men.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
to be
Yes.
a queer
for sure.
femme, and when queer femmes do get storylines, guess what? They're almost always traumatized and brutalized.
Yes.
Because that's the only way we can exist.
And it's only in these
spaces.
independently not well-funded projects.
Right.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's frustrating. And I saw recently in a group, it was a Facebook group or whatever, and there was this straight white male director, and he's like, yeah, you know, I'm directing this new movie, and it's about a queer femme and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, that's great. Was your writer? No, the writer was a straight white dude. And it's like,
Like Jared Leto and Dallas Buyers Club.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and
and
it's
like,
hard. How do you write for a voice that you
like,
don't
they
know?
can't. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you know, when I see straight writers writing for trans characters, I'm like, how on earth do you know what it actually feels like to feel gender dysphoria? Because it's different from body dysmorphia, right? Because we can all, like, we all have like a little bit of body dysmorphia, you know, depending on our size, but that gender dysmorphia is totally different. How on earth do you think you can accurately capture that without having experienced that? Because that is a very intense, you know, you speak to any trans individual, and like it is a huge process. It is
huge.
all these all
So you need
these
people on
things.
set that understand that are
Well, and
directing
at the
writing
same time, to stand in a space and think that you have a right to speak for something. We have this talk a lot. We have this beautiful, hilarious comedian he's such a sweetheart that he was so worried. What gives me the right to come in here and write for a queer guy's voice? And I said, because the queer guy asked if you wouldn't mind. But I said, that's why we come into a room every week.
Right.
And we toss around ideas and we create it together. It's not like you're just standing out there going, I'm going to write for queer people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He's not doing it on his own.
Exactly,
He's doing it in the room with a bunch of queer
Yes.
people, because when you do a writer's room, you know, which is for television, film is a solo project.
I know
generally,
nothing about it.
But for TV series, you know, you're in a writer's room, and I think in a queer writer's room, it is important to have, you know, at least one straight person in there, because you're getting that perspective. Or, you know, just like how you need to have women in your writer's room, you need to have BIPOC individuals in your writer's room, because their perspective, no matter what your show is, will be valuable. And when we're feature writers, we don't get that. We write by ourselves. Maybe have one writing partner. But generally, it's the work of one person. And I just always kind of question it when that person is straight, when I'm like, you know, I'm a queer writer and I'm over here and like, people aren't like, it's hard for me to sell my scripts, you know, and I've had scripts, you know, pitched at Netflix and A24 by producers. I've had people attached to my scripts, but it's hard to get those scripts sold as a queer writer. And I'm like, and every day I'm like reading Deadline, and there's like another straight white dude who's brand new to writing, who like just fell down the street into a producer's lap or something. I don't know.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you know, I'm like, hi, hello.
And I tell people this all the time, because I would love to live in a world where labels don't exist, and we don't need representation. But the fact is,
they do.
we are not.
We do need it.
We are not. You know, we are not going to have that while we're alive. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I want to say, boy, I always love talking about this stuff, because I could talk about it for the next few weeks, for the rest of my life.
I will need a bathroom break if we're going to be here a few weeks.
Right. And so we do have to wind down for the show, but these are the conversations I want to continue having. Just, I'm telling you, you wouldn't. I don't think there's one show that goes by that we don't have to talk about representation. Because it needs to be talked about. But that's why we come into a room and say, we need to have these conversations. And how do we have them? It's why you watch. It's why we get letters. And it's why we continue to do the work that we do. So I want to thank you both for the art that you do, for putting your energy out into the world.
I can't wait
we
to
need
check
a
out
lot
more of your
more.
art.
Right? We need a lot more of it. And I have to say, for that surprise in Pride, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. We also want to just remind you that you can catch our show every Tuesday. You can watch it on video, all of our beautiful faces, or you can catch the audio version of the podcast every Tuesday at thequeercentric.com. And I want to remind you, next week is the sex show.
Why weren't we invited on that show?
I'm a saucy little minx.
I know. Our very own.
We will just show up.
Exactly.
And we'll find a mic for us.
Exactly. Our very own, we love him to death, Damon L. Jacobs. He is a relationship therapist out of New York. He's also the author of 2 books. We've known him for years. He is willing to talk any question you have. Nothing is off limits for him. So please tune in next week when you can listen to him and get his advice just in time for Valentine's Day. Learn all the sex questions and answers that you want from a professional. So there you go. So remember, everybody, we love you tons. Look for everything that we do on our website and support your local artists. Okay? Until next time, bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Which camera?
Oh, where's my...